Hey freaks and friends, welcome to day 5 of the 31 Days of October. The daily content continues as we continue with the 45 years of Halloween special celebration. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Sheriffs of Haddonfield. Make sure to stab that subscribe button and slash that bell icon so you don't miss out on this daily Halloween content all through the month of October. So in the Halloween franchise, we see 5 different sheriffs of Haddonfield throughout the films. We have, of course, Sheriff Brackett. We see him in the original film and Rob Zombie's remakes of those films. We have Sheriff Meeker in Halloween 4 and Halloween 5. In Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, we have a sheriff, but he's got very limited screen time. And we, of course, have Sheriff Barker in the David Gordon Green trilogy. Today we're going to be taking a look at those 5 sheriffs and ranking them from least favorite to favorite. Of course, this is all subject to opinion. You guys let me know down there in the comments what you guys would rank these gentlemen at. So coming in at number 5, this one should be no surprise to anybody. This was absolutely the easiest choice to make on this list. It is the unnamed sheriff from Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. I honestly couldn't even find this actor's name when I tried to look up the character. When I asked who was the sheriff in Halloween 6, it takes me to pictures and search results for Bo Starr, who played Sheriff Meeker. That should be enough there to let you guys know that this guy is relatively insignificant, not just to the plot of the film, but to the massive Halloween continuity in general. The most significant thing we could say is he was most likely a Cult of Thorn member. I guess give credit where it's due. Coming in at number 4, we have Sheriff Barker from the David Gordon Green trilogy. Now, I don't dislike Sheriff Barker, played by Omar Dorsey. He was a fun character, but I feel that he doesn't have as much to do as somebody like Sheriff Meeker had in Halloween 4 and 5 before. And he's just not as captivating of a personality as Sheriff Brackett when he was portrayed by Brad Dourif. Again, being lowered on the list because he has little to do with the plot. I will say he is probably the most badass looking of the sheriffs. He's got the cowboy hat and the coat. He definitely looks like a small town sheriff, so I will give him credit where it's due. Coming in at number 3, we have Charles Cypher's portrayal of Sheriff Brackett. Now, you guys know, especially if you have followed my John Carpenter review series, you know that I enjoy watching Charles Cypher's on film. However, his portrayal of Brackett just feels like he's annoyed with having to do his job at points. He does go along with Dr. Loomis in the film, but you could tell that he has some sort of resistance to it. He just doesn't feel like he wants to be there, but I feel Charles Cypher's does kind of capture the right energy that we need for that sort of sheriff in a small town environment. I really love the fact that he comes up again in Halloween Kills. It's nice to see him all those years later. Sure, it was a little cheesy with that repeat of the line that he gives to Laurie when he tells Michael everyone deserves one good scare. Charles Cypher's falls in the middle of the pack, earning that spot mostly out of pure nostalgia and charm that we get with Cypher's. Coming in at number 2, this was a hard one. It was this and number 1 where I was struggling the most making this list. The top 2 are just so great that it was not so easy to pick between them. We are looking at Sheriff Meeker from Halloween 4 and 5. Sheriff Meeker ends up higher on this list because he, of course, has probably one of the bigger roles of the sheriffs, at least in the early continuity. He's definitely a little more willing to listen to Dr. Loomis when he comes to town in Halloween 4. He doesn't want for him to be in that same situation that Sheriff Brackett was 10 years before he had been. Of course, he does end up in that situation, losing his daughter to Myers, but we see a lot more of this badass, this isn't going down in my town kind of energy from Bo Starr when he portrays Sheriff Meeker, and that is something that was really missing in Halloween 1 and 2, but to be fair to Charles Cypher's, there wasn't as much of an onslaught going on, and the reputation of Myers wasn't bad enough to really necessitate that in 78. It's kind of hard to compare that in that regard. But Bostar, he's just absolutely badass in his portrayal as Meeker. He's got a little less to do in part 5, but it's absolutely nice to see that he's not giving up on this town. He's still gonna fight to protect it with Myers on the loose. It's a shame he went out like he did, so he ends up at number 2. So by now you guys know number 1 is going to be Lee Brackett, portrayed by Brad Dourif. There are quite a few reasons why Brad Dourif gets the number 1 spot on my personal ranking of the Haddonfield Sheriffs. His portrayal of Brackett, I think, is a lot more human than the other sheriffs, especially when you're comparing just the Brackett characters. I feel that Brad Dourif brings a lot more, again, sort of humanity to the role, especially when you see the scene where he finds Annie in the house in the first Rob Zombie Halloween. You know, you can hear that he's devastated, he's taken aback, but he knows that she's alive, so he doesn't give that great performance that we will see in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 when he finds Annie's body again. But this time, that's exactly what it is. It's just her body. And for that performance alone, like if that was like the only thing he had done with maybe a little bit of, hey, I'm your father, so you see me. If it was just that and like a little establishing shot that was her father, that still probably would have been about the best performance by any one of the sheriffs. I find that is a very heartfelt performance, and again, I think it has to do with the tone of the scene. Another great moment, it's just a little thing, but the dinner scene in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, just the little bit of dialogue that Brad Dourif has there, it's almost this Tarantino-esque dialogue. It's not to that same caliber, but it's within that same stream. It does serve as like just one of those little reasons why this character is so enjoyable to watch. It's just little things like that make this character so enjoyable. Of course, when you get to the climax also of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, when he sees Dr. Loomis coming up to the showdown there, he's not having any of this motherfucker's presence. He's getting ready to knock his dick in the dirt. Like, he's wanting to rip Loomis's head off. A lot of the certain characteristics that Brad Dourif brings to the character elevates him to number 1 as the Haddonfield Sheriff. So that was it, guys. The ranking of the Haddonfield Sheriffs. Why don't you let me know down below how you guys would rank them. Tell me if you think I put someone in the wrong spot. Love to hear how you guys would set them up. And be sure to hit the subscribe button and the little bell so that you don't miss a single day of this 45 Years of Halloween series. See you guys tomorrow.